As IT professionals, we live in a world of cloud productivity, cloud workloads, and ubiquitous connectivity. One of our most important responsibilities is ensuring a cyber-safe working environment for our users, as well as securing our information and applications. We must deliver on this responsibility in the face of sophisticated cyber attacks designed specifically to evade traditional cybersecurity controls. Fortunately, we have an approach and technologies equal to the task. Hello, my name is Neil du Plessis, and welcome to this BUI and Microsoft Security Webinar. I am a Cloud Solutions and Security Architect at BUI, and I want to thank you for your time today. We are going to be looking at the following topics today. Starting with security strategy, we are going to look at our approach to cybersecurity by using our cybersecurity reference model as well as the cyber kill chain. Identity protection is the new front line of cyber defense, our next topic. We are going to look at multi-factor authentication, conditional access, and our journey towards a world without passwords. Protecting workloads in the cloud through infrastructure security and specifically Azure Security Center is next. We will continue with Microsoft's Threat Protection Suite that includes Defender ATP and the Microsoft 365 Security Center. We'll wrap up with a look at Azure Sentinel, Microsoft's cloud-native SIEM source solution, and finally a quick look at BUI Security Services. We have a lot to cover, so let's get started. Security strategy using the cybersecurity reference model and the cyber kill chain. When it comes to defending against cyber attacks, we must consider the growing complexity of our digital estate. How do we think about our assets? What must we defend against? This is different from even 5 or 10 years ago. IT organizations now find themselves responsible for protecting a crisscrossing web of technologies they may not own. These include user-owned mobile devices used to access corporate data, systems and devices used by our partners and customers to access your information. With 7 billion internet-connected devices in the world today, not including laptops and mobile devices, you have multiple points of vulnerability for your overall estate. These advances all change the game when it comes to security. You no longer have the luxury of drawing perimeters around your organization. Taken together, all of these trends we've outlined represent a shared challenge to IT security. Fortunately, there is a way forward. According to Forrester, the future of cybersecurity is in the cloud. And Microsoft's trusted public cloud is uniquely suited for this challenge due to our simplicity, speed, and scale. We have developed the cybersecurity reference model to visualize 360-degree cybersecurity. We use the cybersecurity reference model to guide our thinking and to categorize cybersecurity activities and technologies. Let's look at each of these categories in more detail. So let's have a look at our cybersecurity reference model again, but this time let's map the Microsoft security stack onto the model. So starting with security management, we have things like Microsoft Threat Intelligence, Microsoft Secure Score, and Microsoft 365 Compliance Center as the products that assist us in security management of our overall cyber defense program. Identity management, things like Azure Active Directory identity protection, including multi-factor authentication and conditional access, as well as Azure Active Directory privileged identity management on the solutions that map to the identity security category. Infrastructure security, starting there with Azure Security Center, which gives us a comprehensive security information and security suite for cloud workloads. Azure security appliances like firewalls and intrusion detection systems are of course still available. In today's modern cloud world, Azure VNet Anti-DDoS is definitely part of the solution, also in the infrastructure security category. From a device security point of view, Microsoft Defender ATP, the EDR solution, and endpoint protection solution is part of the device security category. Microsoft Endpoint Manager, comprising of the two traditional solutions, Configuration Manager and Intune, is the device security. Application security using Azure Front Door Service, web application firewalls, etc. Microsoft Cloud App Security is Microsoft's award-winning cloud application security broker solution. In terms of data security, Azure Information Protection, giving us that capability to classify, label, and protect information that is portable, it travels with documentation. And of course, Office 365 DLP, data leakage prevention, and of course, again, MCAS, Microsoft Cloud App Security, is also an integral part of data security. From a security ops point of view, of course, Azure Sentinel, Microsoft's cloud-based SIEM source solution. Microsoft Defender ATP, the EDR solution, still valid as part of security ops, especially when it comes to response capabilities. And M365 Security Center as one console to give you a view across all of the defensive capabilities. From an offensive security point of view, Azure ATP, Advanced Threat Protection for on-premise Active Directory, identity forensics even, and then Honey tokens as part of that solution makes up the complete stack as mapped onto the cybersecurity reference model. Alright, so let's have a look again at the uh, cyber kill chain. And again, we've got the same slide as before, but in this case, what we're going to do is map the security technologies onto this kill chain. For example, on the application side, Office 365 ATP provides this malware detection, but also sandboxing capabilities with safe links and safe attachments. From a device point of view, Microsoft Defender ATP is of course our EDR solution, endpoint detection and response, and also endpoint protection. This is for the client side, so workstations. But it is also that very same technologies, the very same capabilities for the data center side, for servers, and not only servers, but also databases and other cloud infrastructure. Azure Security Center, giving us the ability to strengthen our security posture and EDR for servers. The new front line of security, of course, identity security starts with Azure AD Identity Protection, including multi-factor authentication and conditional access, but also privileged identity management, which is request-based temporary privileged access using MFA conditional access and manual approval for those privilege escalations. On-premise, Azure ADP, of course. On-premises Active Directory identity forensics. And then lastly, data access, our last line of defense. Microsoft Cloud App Security extends protection and conditional access across to other cloud apps. So it's both for internal cloud apps, OneDrive, SharePoint, Teams, Exchange Online, but also third party cloud applications that you have sanctioned in your organization. Okay, so let's look at identity protection next. Multi-factor authentication, conditional access, and passwordless. User credentials are constantly at risk. 81% of breaches are caused by compromised credentials. 73% of passwords are duplicates. And 80% of employees use non-approved apps for work. This is why user identity is the most important thing to protect. Once a malicious actor has compromised the user identity, they can log into the device as you, and they have the device. Then they can log into your apps as you, and they can get to your data. Pwning a user is easy. Compromising a physical device is harder. The good news is that 99% of attacks is thwarted by multi-factor authentication. The only people that love passwords are hackers. Start by seeing how many of your users reuse passwords, or worse, set standard passwords all the time. Hackers know and exploit this vulnerability all the time. With Azure AD password protection, we help you in a few ways. Firstly, banned passwords. We provide you with a global password list, one that prevents users from setting these common passwords that we all see all the time, and also give you the ability to define your own custom banned password list. Smart Lockout gives you the ability to define policies around how many times a wrong password can be entered before locking a user out. Passwords are the weakest link in a security chain. As per the Verizon Data Breach Report, 81% of breaches leverage stolen or weak passwords. If you only do one thing to help protect yourself, it is to turn on MFA. We support a broad range of authentication options to fit the needs of your business and your users. For security, flexibility, convenience, and cost, we recommend Microsoft Authenticator mobile app. Microsoft Authenticator supports push notifications, one-time passcodes, and biometrics for any Azure AD connected app and is free to download from Apple and Android app stores. It also supports passwordless authentication. So Microsoft's approach to identity in access management is threefold: secure authentication, conditional access, and identity protection. So let's have a closer look at Azure AD conditional access, our core to establishing zero trust. Firstly, whenever a user signs in to an application, it comes with a lot of metadata, including who the user is and what roles the user has, what device the user is using. This can be a trusted, compliant device, or it can be a novel device that we haven't seen before. The user logs in from a physical or virtual location, maybe a corporate network or a geolocation somewhere in the world. And lastly, the client application and authentication method used by the client for that signing. All of these are called conditions. These conditions are fed into the conditional access mechanism, enabled by machine learning, real-time evaluation engine, and policies. Our 40 terabytes of data from all the conditions, integrated EMS and M365 apps, and our security intelligence network are analyzed in real time to determine the correct policy to apply. Within this conditions, a specific session risk will be established, which can either be a low, medium, or high risk. And then a specific control, access control, can be applied before the user is allowed to access either the Microsoft Cloud, so one of the Microsoft web applications like Teams or SharePoint or OneDrive, or a cloud SaaS application that you have authenticated or that you have uh, u- allowed use in your organization. Or even on-premise web applications can be made part of this conditional access model. Let's take an example. If a user signs in on a Windows machine with Windows Defender ATP, we can consider the health of their account and the device as well as their location and if they are on a corporate network and what type of app they are trying to access. If they are on the corporate network in their normal office, then that produces a low risk score. The effective policy is then to allow access to the app. If, however, the person was logging in from a location across the world and or the Windows Defender ATP finds that the machine has been infected, the access can be blocked. If the user login and the device are healthy, but it was in a location they haven't signed in from before, Then a user could be prompted for MFA or have limited access to certain application. This gives us a lot of flexibility in able to determine what a user can do and how we are going to apply the appropriate level of security for each and every sign-in. Alright, so let's look at a demo, conditional access with passwordless authentication and limited access. The scenario here is a user called Megan has been configured for passwordless authentication. She is, however, connecting using a device we haven't seen before, and the policy we've set is to allow only limited access in these cases. Let's look at her secure productivity experience in this scenario. So here is a user about to access her Office online apps on a browser. At the login prompt, she provides her user ID. Instead of a password prompt, she gets a notification on her Authenticator app on her phone. She taps on the notification on the phone. In the Authenticator app, she matches the number shown on her browser screen. She taps 62 on the phone as well. Next, she confirms authentication with her fingerprint. If she had a more modern phone, this of course would be Face ID. Now she's in. That's it. It's that simple. This is a SharePoint site that the user has selected and it's labeled as confidential. So Azure AD conditional access capability uh, applies the policy based on the data classification with Microsoft Information Protection. In this case, you can see it says your organization doesn't allow you to download, print, or sync using this device. To use these actions, use a device that's joined to a domain or marked compliant by Intune. For help, contact your IT department. So this does not actually prevent Megan from actually doing her work. So let's say Megan wants to access that marketing plan document. Now, of course, we already know she's not allowed to download it. In other words, she cannot open the marketing plan on her local copy of Excel. But if she clicks on the marketing plan, she sees the same notification at the top of the screen. But she can still get her work done. She can edit and review or comment on the document. Alright, so let's look at protecting workloads. It's part of the infrastructure security category and it is based and powered by Azure Security Center. So when we look at the security landscape today, we see that organizations continue to face challenges that enhance the risk of significant financial loss and damage to market reputation and customer satisfaction. Some of these challenges are security experts are hard to recruit and retain. Also, maintaining infrastructure security in the data center requires enormous investments and resources without necessarily a clear return on investment. Next, maintaining a strong security posture with a myriad of tools is very difficult, given each tool requires manual configuration, is time consuming, and can introduce security gaps. Lastly, the volume and complexity of threats continues to increase. Too much data providing few insight that help to respond quickly and accurately. So Microsoft Azure can help you overcome these challenges and strengthen your security posture. Cloud has been proven to be more secure in many ways than corporate data centers. Microsoft Azure is uniquely positioned to assist organizations with securing their digital transformation. In the upcoming slides, we'll look at and discuss different ways Microsoft Azure can strengthen your security posture. Azure Security Center is the integrated hub for security in Azure, allowing you to get secure faster. Strengthening security posture and protecting against threats are the two focus areas. So in terms of strengthening security posture, secure score, vulnerability scanning, and policy and compliance are the key deliverables in this area. For protecting against threat, we have advanced threat protection for servers, so EDR built right in to the security solution. Cloud native and on-premise workloads are both supported. So whether your resources is in Azure or on-premise, in fact even in other clouds, all of them can be protected by Azure Security Center. Of course, databases and storage and other elements like containerization and Kubernetes, for example, all form part of the security gambit of Azure Security Center. So cloud workload protection for hybrid VMs and servers. Again, it supports both Windows and Linux, regardless of where the servers are located, whether in Azure, in a data center, or in other clouds. Simple management, detect advanced threats, reduce attack surface. These are the focus areas. Things like server security hygiene, um, vulnerability assessment of those servers, uh, and then, of course, built-in EDR with Microsoft Defender ATP. All of these capabilities are provided by Azure Security Center. So, hybrid data centers and multi-cloud is protected by Azure Security Center. So, in terms of normal VMs, normal infrastructure as a service, as we're used to, but also other things like network traffic, IoT, containers, and SQL, all in a single interface to allow you to manage that security. So let's look at a demo again. We are going to look at Azure Security Center both from a server and virtual machine security management perspective. So if we start with this view over here, this is Azure Security Center. It features Azure Secure Score with easy to identify recommendations for improving security. So if we click on that, it gives us the secure score for this organization. So let's click through to the subscription, in this case, Contoso Hotels. Here we can see that Contoso Hotels has a secure score of 19%. This means that Contoso still has a lot of work left to do to secure their cloud. A feature of Enhanced Secure Score is a new system that groups related recommendations into controls. This emulates the work of a security analyst, providing clear guidance as to which changes can most improve security. Controls also offer improvement in manageable numbers, helping IT navigate a path to their security goals. This promotes a systemic approach to improving security area by area. Controls are presented within an overall score and a resource health indicator that provides information about how much work is needed to complete the control, and it points to the overall secure score. Here the control's secure management boards can improve the overall secure score by 15%. When I expand this control, I see 2 to 3 recommendations that have been completed. All of the recommendations in a control must be completed for the control secure score value to be added to the overall score. In this case, turning on just-in-time network access for the remaining VMs would complete the control. Quick actions and remediation recommendations can support IT pros in improving security. They may also offer a short list of steps or links to pages documenting the settings that can be adjusted. A recent improvement is the additions of quick fixes. These are automated solutions that will change the settings for the administrator. In this case, the recommendation is to enable the built-in vulnerability assessment solution on virtual machines. It has a quick fix available. IT admins can use this quick fix button by clicking on the icon. However, if they want to know more about a quick fix, Security Center provides both a description and the actual script that's going to be executed. So we can look at that by clicking on the view recommendation logic. And as you can see there, the script is defined. So there's a breadcrumb view at the top of the screen. So let's click on Security Center Overview again. Compute and apps and containers are another way to review recommendation. Uh, Here we have an overview that can see a list of recommendations and again some quick fixes. This list can be sorted by failed resources or by severity, for example. Or admins can look at recommendations by a specific failed resource. If we look at VMs and servers, we can see a list of resources that need to be reviewed. An admin could work through security recommendations VM by VM if that is their assigned process. For example, this VM has 8 open recommendations with various levels of priority assigned to them. If we scroll down, we can see familiar recommendation format, including that quick fix option. Alright, so that concludes our demo in terms of protect workloads. Alright, so let's next look at threat protection, which includes Microsoft Defender, ATP, as well as the Microsoft 365 Security Center. So traditionally speaking, how we tend to build our defenses, if X is the attacker and the circles are the defenders, we tend to build it in a line or in security controls. However, what happens in reality is attackers, when faced with a defense, when faced with a security control, they will try to go around it or circumvent it in some way. Microsoft provides comprehensive protection in the form of Microsoft Threat Protection. It starts with protection, so preventing and blocking threats, but also then moves on to detection and to identify suspicious behaviors. Of course, a single suspicious behavior might not indicate an incident. However, an escalating set of suspicious behaviors might indicate an escalating level of risk for a specific user, which might indicate something like a compromised user account or a malware being active on the system. Investigation of security incidents allows us to narrate the full attack story. This is extremely important because it allows us to first find the root cause, so find where the infection or where the incident originally started from, and identifies all the devices and accounts and systems that was affected by a specific attack. Remediation, both from a automatic remediation point of view as well as a manual or analyst, security professional, interventionist point of view. Remediation tools built right into the investigation experience. Hunting, discover hidden threats, of course, the advanced way of finding threats that might be latent in the environment that has so far been able to sort of fly under the radar and not be detected by even the AI-based detection technologies that we have available. Threat analytics allows security professionals and IT as a whole to stay informed with rich intelligence. So, latest attack techniques, latest attack vectors. It allows us to stay ahead of the attackers. Vulnerability management, discover vulnerable assets and misconfigurations, incredibly important element of threat protection from a academic point of view, but also made practical in terms of Microsoft Threat Protection. And lastly, threat experts. To get help from world-class experts, Microsoft employs over 3,500 security professionals, and part of the Microsoft Threat Protection suite is we get access to these resources. If we look at the kill chain again, the kill chain as we know it and the security technologies used to protect against each phase of the kill chain, we know that many organizations are struggling with the volume of security solutions required to defend against attacks. As a follow-on conversation, we can talk about how our approach not only simplifies security, but also lets you save money through vendor consolidation and through Microsoft 365 security. So what this basically means is across all of those security solutions in identity, endpoint, email and collaboration and applications that we've seen used in the kill chain, we need to start building very tight integration between these solutions. And it starts with signal sharing, the ability for each of these solutions to share signal with each other. Also, a unified entity reputation mechanism, so a specific user identity or user account in Azure ATP, for example, is referenced throughout all of the other security solutions as the same entity. Upstream and downstream orchestrated semantics, automated protection and remediation playbooks that able us to respond and to take action across the security estate, no matter what application is actually responsible for security control of that particular area. And then, of course, it all gets put together using the Microsoft 365 Security Center, which gives us a collaborative and a unified interface for incidents that are generated across all of the solutions, investigations, threat hunting, and threat analytics across all of the security solutions and all of the domains there. So next, let's look at the demo, and we'll start with Microsoft Secure Score. So as you can see, this is the new Microsoft Security Center. On the home page, you can see a core set of information called cards to help you manage your security posture. The information span across user risk, device compliance, DLP policy matches, infrastructure protection, and discover cloud apps, giving you a holistic view of the complete environment. Microsoft Secure Score is the first area to note on the left there. Secure Score is a security analytics solution that provides visibility to security posture and provides recommendations to improve your secure score. You would remember this same from Azure Security Center. You'll see the overall score, a trend line of how your score is progressing over time, and a breakdown of the points recorded. If we click on Microsoft Secure Score, we can have a look at the various controls that appear. Under the Secure Score summary, there are suggestions for improving your score, where you can find new controls and group controls by category. So let's start with apps. Secure Score has arranged the recommendations by identity, apps, infrastructure, and data. Next, let's look at a demo of Microsoft 365 Security Incident Management. Firstly, if we look at the incidents queue and we zoom in, we can first see that incidents are arranged by severity. In this case, it is from high to low. So this severity indicates not only how severe or how large the compromise is, but also arranges the incidents by means of level of confidence that it is a true positive and not a false positive. You can see in terms of active alerts, each incident is comprised of a number of alerts, and these alerts might come from different sources. On the right hand side, you can see there a list of detection sources. For example, Microsoft Defender ATP, Office ATP, simple antivirus, uh, uh, Microsoft Cloud App Security, and Azure ATP. What you can also see is the impacted entities. So with a single glance, you can evaluate the significance or the number of entities in your environment that was impacted by this incident. And lastly, status and assign to gives us the ability to view incidents by whether they have been whether they are still active or whether they've been resolved. And also we can assign specific incidents to specific analysts or security professionals in our environment. Next, let's look at the first one, credential theft phishing campaign. And we can see on the left there the alerts for this incident are categorized in terms of the MITRE attack categories. If we, for example, look at the suspicious PowerShell command line entity, we can see enriched information and specific information about that specific alert. We can also look at the alerts in total, all the alerts that encompass the security incident, and also look at the automated investigations. So of course, Microsoft 365 Security or Microsoft Threat Prevention will launch automatic investigations for an incident. In this case, you can see that a lot of the incidents have been automatically remediated, with one of the incidents there, security principal reconnaissance, being in a pending state. So some of the incidents have already been remediated, and you can of course click into these to see what has been done to remediate it. Let's look at this one that is still on the pending state. So firstly, we get a graph of exactly what encompasses this alert. We of course can also see entities analyzed. That includes all of the processes, files, drivers, etc. that was impacted and assessed as part of this investigation. We can look at the users impacted. And if we click on this user, the pending action is to mark this user as compromised. So this needs to be approved or rejected by an analyst. Of course, this approving this action will block this user account. So it'll lock this user account out, and the user will have to do a MFA enabled password reset in order to reactivate the account. So in some of these instances, it is user intervention is required. Now, of course, you can set this all to automatic, but this is just the normal investigation and remediation activities that your security analyst will follow. So on the next slide, we can look at a specific device. So in this case, we want to look pivot on the device. So we've looked at the remediation. Let's look at the specific device that was involved in this incident. So the device screen here gives us a very good overview of the risk level in terms of active incidents and alerts involved in this machine. Data sensitivity is high. In other words, this machine contains documents and information that has been marked as confidential or sensitive. And then lastly, the exposure score. There are two security recommendations with a very high score that needs to be remediated on this device. Now, of course, these remediations should be done as normal security posture improvement, and this will also give us an indication of why this device got compromised. It's because it still had outstanding security recommendations. So that concludes the basic uh, incident investigation mechanism of Microsoft 365 and Microsoft Threat Prevention. All right, let's take a look at Azure Sentinel, Microsoft's cloud native SIEM source solution. We're going to look at the end-to-end security ecosystem integration, and of course, what we prefer to call the ultimate in security operation center. So as the volume of data grows and demand for security analytics increase, the traditional SIEM approach is falling short, and that's mainly due to firstly high costs. SIEM technologies have become very, very expensive, partially driven by the need for big data analytics as the underlying platform. This has also contributed to complex setup and maintenance, and the lack of security experts makes this quite a daunting task. Next is the high volume of alerts, reducing the value of the SIEM solution to the organization. So, the traditional model versus the cloud native SIEM model, if we start on the left, this looks very similar to infrastructure as a service up to software as a service, uh, shared responsibility model. So the on-premise SIEM, we have the SIEM license owner responsible end to end, everything from networking to SIEM optimization and everything in between. If we take one step further, the self-managed cloud SIEM, where we basically take our on-premise SIEM solution and virtualize it in a cloud solution, you do get the benefit of being able to offload things like networking, storage, and up to virtualization to the cloud vendor. However, this is not always possible, and it depends on the capability and the support of the SIEM solution to be hosted in cloud. Next, you might opt for vendor managed cloud SIEM, which basically converts the operating system and SIEM maintenance component and offloads that to the SIEM vendor. Ideally, you want the situation on the right hand side, a software only SIEM, software as a service, or maybe platform as a service, where a lot of the costs are eliminated, things like networking storage done by the cloud vendor, SIEM maintenance by the SIEM vendor, and you're only responsible for bringing the data into the SIEM and also SIEM optimization. So Azure Sentinel delivers an end-to-end solution for security operations. It starts with collecting all of your data and getting instant insight into that data via workbooks and queries. Begin by applying analytics to that data to find real threats from the sea of data and alerts. Hunt through all of your data using built-in exploratory queries. Use bookmarks and live stream tools to track notable events and monitor new activities. Manage and investigate incidents using graphs and timeline views. Automate investigation and remediation playbooks. All of this is powered by a community of security analysts and backed by Microsoft security experts who leverage their vast experience defending Microsoft services to contribute analytics, queries, playbooks, and more. Our goal is to make it easy for you to collect data across all sources in your organization. Azure Sentinel has built-in connections that help you do just that. One-click integrations with Microsoft solutions. Data connectors for a growing list of other technologies for on-premise and cross-cloud solutions. Support for standard log formats like CEF and syslog. Specialized taxi and graph connections for threat intelligence data. REST API and proven log analytics. In fact, Sentinel analyzes over 10 petabytes of data daily. So if we start by Azure Security Center that we already had a look at, cloud workload protection, we can through a single click integrate that with Azure Sentinel, basically giving Azure Sentinel all of the rich data already collected by Azure Security Center and also all of the capabilities Azure Security Center provides. You can of course also export this data to your own applications. So the first thing is to gain insights with more visibility and fewer alerts. This comes from Microsoft Threat Protection. So we already discussed M365 Security Center. But the other side of this equation of course also Azure Security Center, which is integrated with Microsoft 365 Security Center. But using Azure Sentinel, we can integrate both Microsoft Threat Protection, Azure Security Center, as well as multi-cloud and partner solutions, whether those are on-premise or also in the cloud. So let's have a bit of a demo on Azure Sentinel. Firstly, we can use built-in analytics for faster threat protection. There are over 100 built-in analytics rules and machine learning threat models. You can also customize and create your own KQL queries, trigger automated playbooks, or bring your own machine learning models. You can manage incidents. So exactly like we looked at in our previous demos, we can collect related alerts and events and bookmarks, manage assignments and track status of incidents, tag and comment, and integrate with ticketing systems. Lastly, investigate, and now we can even do URL detonation as part of that investigation. So we can navigate the relationships between alerts and bookmarks and entities. Expand using exploration queries, which is basically just clicking on one of the topics on the graph. We can have a rich timeline that indicates exactly where an attack started and what the steps were that was taken. We can get insights on entities, including users, hosts, and more. We can trigger playbook and enrich final URLs and screenshots for phishing sites. We can also take a proactive approach by using hunting over security data with fast, flexible queries. We can run built-in threat hunting queries with no prior query experience required. Customize and create your own hunting queries as your analysts gain more experience in using threat hunting. And then, of course, integrate hunting and investigation to make for a very rich, very powerful security analyst experience in the Security Operations Center. Automation playbooks, we have a few examples of playbooks that we can use. It's built using logic apps. And there are three main use cases: incident management, enrichment, and investigation, and also remediation. For example, in incident management, I can assign an incident to an analyst by also integrating with your ticketing system. Maybe it's ServiceNow or Jira or whatever ticketing system you use. We can keep incident status in sync. In other words, when a ticket is opened in your ServiceNow, we can and it is remediated within Sentinel, that ticket is updated with the correct status. And we can also integrate with things like Teams or Slack. Enrichment and investigation, we can do a geo lookup for an IP address, trigger a defender ATP investigation, or send a validation email to a user, for example, to determine if a user is flagged for logging in from a country that he is not frequently hasn't logged in from before. We can send him an email to respond to actually indicate whether or not he is actually in that country. And of course, then remediation: block an IP address, block a user, trigger conditional access, or isolate a machine. Basically, any of the tools available to us in Defender ATP as well is capable of being included in remediation. We have a few examples of the workflows that we can do in Sentinel. Um, to establish or create a workflow or a playbook is a drag and drop capability, so it's very easy to create these. But also we can source these workflows right out of the community. There's a GitHub repo. There are also associated blog posts, so you can usually start here and then customize for your own use. So that concludes our talk about Azure Sentinel, the cloud-native SIEM solution. So lastly, let's have a look at BUI Security. Who is BUI? Our Cybersecurity Operations Center and our Managed Security Services. BUI has a rich history, being founded in 2001. And today, in 2020, we are Microsoft's #1 cloud partner. In fact, we have been selected as Cloud Partner of the Year for the last 6 years running. We are the first Microsoft security partner in South Africa, and we launched our BUI CyberSOC recently. Here are some of the awards we've been winning lately. Of course, always focused on cloud and security. So what we offer, we have four main offerings: cloud, independent software vendor, security, and managed services. If we look at security specifically, BUI is the first Microsoft partner to hold a Microsoft Gold competency for the identity and security in Africa. We take security very seriously and launched our CyberSOC early in 2020. From a managed services point of view, BUI managed services from cloud adoption to managed infrastructure operations, monitoring, and support. From a security specifically point of view, we of course have our cybersecurity operations center, a dedicated cybersecurity facility that leverages the intelligent cloud to help safeguard business organizations. Penetration testing, cybersecurity services is what we provide. We also provide ongoing managed security services, which is an affordable and structured engagement consisting of a workshop to determine your company's security profile, requirements, and enabling Microsoft 365 security aspects to align with your requirements. We also have a service called Disaster Recovery as a Service that helps you maintain availability of your security solutions and of your productivity solutions. So, in conclusion, let's talk. We are available on all the usual channels or on our website www.bui.co.za. With that, I think thank you for your attendance. We're going to conclude the webinar here.